you and me. But
York Sport President. The York Sport President is the main point of contact for all university and college sport clubs. They coordinate and develop sport within USU and work to increase opportunities and participation. They help to shape the direction of sport and physical activity at the University of York, as well as running massive events such as Roses, College Varsity and Colours Ball.
Good evening, I'm Harry Dennis. This time I'm not in the green room. I am interviewing, I've got Nick Gardner with me tonight to speak about the York Sport President role. So Nick, how are you doing?
I'm not too bad, thank you. How are you, Harry?
I'm great, thanks. We've had a great evening so far. Now, I should start off by saying you're actually a communications officer with York Sport at the minute. How's that role going?
Yes, I've been doing it for the last 2 years. And as you can imagine, the struggle is not much sport going on, but we're trying to demonstrate all the great things clubs are doing, raising money for charity, still getting in there, still training. Wonderful stuff to see clubs working with fellow clubs in other universities. And yeah, just promoting all the great stuff clubs are doing at the moment.
Now, I know off there we were talking about how the fact that I'm a member of the UIMCC, that's the cricket club, the men's cricket club. And actually, you yourself are just in the comms officer, but you're not actually doing in a sports club yourself. How have you found that just as an external looking in? Do you see anything that maybe I wouldn't, for instance?
So I joined the York Sport Union committee 2 years ago, specifically because I hadn't played a sport. And it was really interesting to understand this whole new part of USU that I'd not seen before. I made some amazing friends and seen some extraordinary stuff that sports clubs do on a daily basis and really understood from scratch all the mechanisms going behind the sport union, college sport, uni sport. It's interesting to see like a top-down view of all the different clubs and how they interact with each other and how they work and how they coordinate and how we just have this very thriving community of sport on campus at the moment, both college and uni.
I must ask, obviously, you've worked closely alongside Maddie, our current York Sport Pres. How have you found that? What have you found of what she's done with the role?
Well, she's had the role for 2 years and not the easiest 2 years. I think we'd all agree, dealing with a pandemic, it's not been easy. But no, she's really stepped up to the challenge, I have to say. And partly seeing the amazing things she's achieved in her role has inspired me to run myself and really want to take the role in my own direction and do some great stuff with it as we build back sport at York, and start to see sport clubs come back to training, come back to competitive play.
And obviously, if you were to be elected, you'd be continuing your role from communications officer. What do you think you have personally learned from being a communications officer that you'd bring to the role?
I think above all else, honesty between the people who run the sport union and clubs is key. Laying your cards on the table, letting them know what's going on so that they can feed into conversations, so they feel included in their sport union. If you maximize that internal communication between clubs, college sport and the SAB role, you're going to have a really well-functioning, well-working sport union. Maddie's done this with the College Sport Committee. I'd continue this. I'd take the role further. I'd give the College Sport Committee more power. And it's about that building honest channels of communication between the SAB and all the clubs and college sport so that they all work together as a one harmonious sport union.
Now, I just wanted to move over to your manifesto, which I've read. I can see you've got actually a picture on your wall of part of your manifesto, which is great to see. Obviously, recently this year, there was a change to the format of college membership fees, which weren't paid directly to the college. They paid via USU, I believe, in a slightly different format. That was quite a contentious issue at the time. How did you see that at the time, and how do you feel about it now?
So this is the sport pilot that James College, I know, pioneered and a few other colleges followed on. I think the main problem was a lot of teething issues, and this goes back to my original point about communication. Maybe at some points, college sport clubs did not feel they were fed into how the system was going to be set up, and so they felt they were left out of communications. And I think there's a lesson to be learned. The pilot itself is successful. It's very popular with clubs, and once those teething issues are worked out, it has the potential to really take college sport in an exciting new direction. But it goes back to that. What you learn from, as you say, this contentious problem is making sure that from the beginning, college sport clubs are treated with a lot of respect and fed into conversation so they feel included in planning these pilots, planning these policies as they come about, so that we have top quality college sport on campus.
Well, continuing then with college sport, one thing that's big on your manifesto is you want to be very, very clear on incorporating new colleges into the college league tables and tournaments. Obviously, with Ann Lister potentially opening up in September, they're on Campus East. Now, one thing, I've got a housemate who plays college rugby, and he isn't too keen to see another college potentially joining Hes East Rugby. Will you be in favour of breaking up Hes East Rugby with the addition of another college just to make it a fairer pool for colleges to choose players from?
I think what college sport don't want is some sport president coming around telling them how to run their clubs. I'm not going to start telling necessarily Hes East Rugby to break up. That's not what the UC or the sport president is about. But as you say, it's about making sure that college sport is fair and competitive, but also participatory. The beautiful thing about college sport is that it can incorporate lots of different people to take part. And so conversations about how competitions are structured must come from captains and must come from student feedback. So by giving that power to the College Sport Committee, which is made up of captains and made up of representatives from the communities the college communities, you're going to see leagues structured in a fairer way that mean that you're going to have participatory increase, but also it's not just me going around saying to people, you must do it this way.
Obviously, talking about participation there, I'm actually going to move over to facilities, but it's very much linked to that. Obviously, there's going to be an enormous demand on our sports facilities when we get back up and going from all the students wanting to get back to sport. How might you deal with a potential overuse of facilities, such as at the 22 during the winter months when it just gets, let's be honest, trashed?
No, this is a really serious problem. And this comes about from lack of investment by the university. If you're going to expand the student population, that's brilliant. But you must also expand facilities. We've seen underinvestment in facilities for a long time now. At no detriment of, this isn't UC's fault. This is the university not linking together investment as they try and grow the student population at York. And so it's about lobbying for long-term investment, obviously, and that's so important. But we must look at 22 acres. We can't simply play just because. If the ground is saturated, you can't play. You're going to, as you say, trash the ground. So it's about working with captains, presidents, college sport committee, and making sure there's a fair distribution of resources. So we're not overusing our resources, but everyone does get a chance to play and take part in sport.
Yeah, I was just going to call you up on that with your facilities. Obviously, you're big on getting more 3G/4G facilities up and running. One thing as a cricketer I wanted to ask actually is the outdoor nets, which are out the back of the hockey pitch, are actually deemed unsafe to use. Therefore, come this summer, I'm either going to be sitting inside going, why aren't I playing cricket? It's raining. We can't use the inside facilities. Why should we be putting 3G facilities first when actually a lot of sports rely purely on grass pitches, or even actually some have unsafe facilities at the minute?
Well, you make a very good point. The reason why those nets are unsafe is because cricket were not brought into conversations when they were designing the facilities, and they built those nets too close to the athletic track. And so another key part of our manifesto is making sure that when we are looking at investing in facilities and also better maintaining facilities, we have a lot of facilities at York that are just poorly maintained or under-maintained. Clubs must be brought into those conversations. They must be part of the process of when we're saying, we have this facility, how can we better use it? How can we refurbish it? It's no good coming just from me. The clubs must be involved in those conversations. So yeah.
I also wanted on communication. Obviously, communication with colleges and sports teams is great, but I was also going to bring you up on you have this idea for using Hes East Lake as a potential sports facility. Now, I know that there's going to be a lot of people out there who will be angry that you'll be moving potentially a lot of wildlife who have made that lake their habitat. First of all, as part of this question, how do you feel about that? But also, how would you personally deal with being pitched against students and maybe even other SABs and other members of the teams that you'll be dealing with when you're looking at this?
So on the Hes East Lake point, you make a very good point. There's no point us using a facility unless it is environmentally sustainable, and that goes for all our facilities. However, the university has conducted a assessment of the lake already and designated a part of the lake that can be trained upon without disrupting wildlife at all. That has been done by the university. We're just waiting for their final approval, and they've been holding off on it for a while now. And so my job is not to start this process, just to push it over the line. This is something that we've been working on for a while. So you make a very good point, but I would not allow a facility to be overused in a way that damages the environment.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Nick, but I think that's all we've got time for. Thank you very much to you. I'm now going to pass over to Beth, who's interviewing Maddie.